All right, Brent, 6:01 to start a meeting. Just wanted to double check that we have enough for a quorum. Quorum.
If you want to wait.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, 6:03. Welcome to the Outdoor Spaces and Public Properties Board. Do a call to order. Larry? Andy here. Tina?
Here.
Ray?
Here.
Roger?
Here.
Jordan? Approval of the agenda. Are there going to be any changes?
Only one, that it has chair after my name, and it should be after your name, Mr. Chairman person.
Okay.
Other than that, I would like to make motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, approval of minutes.
Did you approve it? Okay.
Okay. Yeah. We got some clarification before you walk.
Okay. Okay, good.
I'd approve the minutes the way they are. I'm good with it. So.
We can bring them before the board next meeting if you like.
Yep, sounds good.
Anybody have any other questions? All right, motion to accept the minutes from March 7th. April 4th. I got the wrong one. What is it?
March 7th, I guess.
March 7th.
Yeah, sorry.
April 4th, yep.
Is that a correction?
Did not.
There are motions, sir?
A motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody here from the public? All right, moving on to old business, project updates and discussion. Neil?
All right. Well, at your bench, you all have a couple of pages there that include some revisions to our survey discussion, our playground survey discussion. As we discussed last time with the board, we were going to revise and kind of basically tier the survey and break it down into a couple of smaller surveys so that we could put out one initial survey, and then the subsequent follow-up one would be if you wanted to, go through the Survey Monkey or whatever, and you get to the end, and then you get prompted for a second follow-up survey if you wanted to choose to do that. So tonight, you're here to review and comment, change up, whatever, make any final revisions, discuss the flow, change those around if we need to. Essentially, try to get something approved that we can be ready to put out for the public.
No, the initial is what people would see initial,
Yeah, that's the first survey
first
that would
part
go
of it.
out. It's kind of the basic, it's going to address essentially your basics, basic information. If we cram too much into it, like we
Right.
discussed last time, nobody's going to, really take a lot of time to do this. And if you really want to give a lot more feedback, you can check, chime in on the second one.
So on the first question on B, are we giving them are there any allotted words they can actually type in if they want to go into detail?
or circle or
Yeah, because if they say, let's just say neutral, what are they neutral about?
Which one are you on?
I'm sorry, 1B.
Yes, sir.
overall
And
experience.
how satisfied are you with the availability of the amenities? Is there any verbiage afterwards they can type in? Because if they're satisfied on everything except for, let's say, restrooms, we'd like to hear that they're dissatisfied by restrooms, but by what way? So is there going to be any
In
room?
which restroom?
Right,
Yeah,
there you
sure.
go, yeah.
I'm not an expert on the whole
Survey.
survey
Okay.
thing, but I think if you get into the whole, that could either be a follow-up type of thing.
Okay.
Once we determine if you're determined what you're dissatisfied about, let's say,
Yeah.
if it happens to be something you're dissatisfied about, maybe we look at, we get a lot of those responses, maybe we look at going back to the group, we're sending out a new survey that says, let's try to determine what exactly some of those dissatisfactions may be.
Perfect. Okay.
If we're getting a lot of satisfied, very satisfied, what do you think? It kind of makes, we're probably doing okay in that regard.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I would think so too, Neil, but there would always be something I can,
There's
always can pick at. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
And I think then I would do the follow-up survey and kind of critique it even more, if I was taking this.
And there is a lot of room. There's a lot of questions we had to omit and kind
Yeah.
of narrow down, and leaving off a lot of those open-ended ones. Maybe better for follow-ups. Open for discussion. That's just my opinion.
No, that's a good idea, because I think if anybody goes to the first part, if they do have something to say, hopefully the follow-up will have some room for maybe some verbiage, and so yeah, it's a good idea.
And if we don't, if we do have an area that we really key in on where they're not happy with, or we see an issue where we really want to drill down into getting more information, I think we take that information from those surveys and pick it apart to try to figure out what we want to ask the public moving forward. Don't you? Or do you all think so?
Yeah, do you need an answer on this tonight, or because my wife loves to critique things. So I could say, hey, this is the survey we're proposing. Now, beat it up. And get back with you before the next meeting?
Yep.
Or are we at a point where we got to push now to make a decision? Okay.
We're talking CIP projects, playground,
Okay.
and site amenities and things like that. So, we're probably anywhere from 2 to 5 years out.
Okay.
Things like this. We're getting them into the CIP cycle.
But how soon do we want to get this survey out?
I would like to try to get it out sometime, over the summer months, June, July.
That's the initial.
Tina, I think you mentioned that too. Somebody, let's get everybody using the parks first. And then, yeah.
The point of this is to really think through the information that we've got out here on both of these surveys, see if it flows good, see if it's the information we want to try to collect from the public initially. And then same way with the follow-up survey. And then work to try to make sure the language is right before we get it out. I've not any, there's no.
Yeah.
In that regard, I want to make sure it's right. Yeah. And if we're just a few minor tweaks, I think we could make those changes between now and have it ready for them. Or if it's just something real minor.
Tina, Roger, ready to get me one time? Or?
I just don't see anything that jumps out
I
at me.
don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I like how there's just, sorry, Neil, about just one page per, you're not overwhelmed like we were at the very beginning, 6,
No.
7 pages,
Yeah.
which
Right.
we knew that was going to be condensed anyway. But
One of my questions, like if you did this with Survey Monkey, would you have, like, for the very first thing, daily, weekly, monthly, rarely, and never, would that be like, you wouldn't, you can't circle it. on a Survey Monkey, so how would you,
I would imagine there's a format for how they,
Because-
I'm not,
well, on 2B, there's, the boxes there.
that would be like a checkbox.
Yeah.
or something.
And maybe have those as check boxes too. Okay.
I would think it would be too, Roger.
Okay,
Yeah,
I-
it'd all have the
I'm,
same.
I'm not familiar with how that,
Well, you're going to be an expert after this.
you betcha.
And I think your point about the neutral versus, I get that point. I don't particularly like the word neutral, but I guess neutral, I don't know if there's a better word for it, on a Likert scale. If you have 5 points on the Likert scale, if you want to have a middle ground, that's what neutral is. Like, I'm neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. I think if they come back and they're just overwhelmingly dissatisfied, then you know that that's a trigger point to follow up with more for more. So I agree with that. And
Or even if they're more neutral, it's kind of like, well, do we want to go further into
mhm.
the detail of, well, what is it that they really like or really don't like? So, yeah, but for right now, I think this is very good.
Just really
Me
tried
too.
to stay at the very high level at this point. And these are basically the questions we were looking at. They're just reformatted and I tried to drill them down into smaller, more condensed 2 groups.
Do we have anything on here that signifies handicap, deaf people, anything associated with the touch of different? Because I know we talked about that last time, Neil. And as I'm skimming, I don't see
3A.
3A, okay. Oh, on the initial or the follow-up?
3A on the initial.
Okay, yep.
With this-
Yes, perfect, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then accessibility regards.
Yep, okay, okay.
And what will the distribution process be?
No, Rick, how did you say we send these out? What format was it? Not Survey Monkey, it was through Teams, I believe. Survey process through Teams.
Good evening, Parks and Public Spaces Outdoor Days Board. Nice to see you all. Yeah, and so like all of our other surveys that we do in the community, we'll use a multitude of different platforms when it comes to social media. There'll be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the city's website. We'll also send out a push notification, all those types of opportunities. We'll also have hard copies available for seniors that might not necessarily have a smartphone or like to do surveys online. So we do receive some hard copies still as well. So we'll put those in, the senior center for their events, and then also in the coffee shops and what have you. So, but we'll actually develop probably the survey using Microsoft Office, probably some type of Microsoft Forms. And then that's an opportunity to kind of have, like you were talking about before, with multiple questions, potentially off of a question, and subcategories off of those. So I don't know if that had answered the question. So.
Sub question. So is there lead-in information that gears towards people who use the playground equipment and have knowledge of playground equipment? Or are we just looking to just survey anybody who'll fill out a survey? The reason why I'm asking is that, we've found that with survey data typically are completed by women that are my age. And, they're certain race and ethnicity, there's certain, that's like the predominant number of people. I could have grandkids, I don't. But, I could still be using the playgrounds. But I was just curious, is this a blanket approach, like anybody can fill it out? Or is it more of a target marketed approach of, do you use the playgrounds to fill out this survey?
That's a great question for the board members. I mean, it's really up to you. Now, I don't know how detailed, I don't know how we can, I mean, I guess you could have a first question that asks your race, ethnicity, age, gender and those
No.
things, but
Well, yeah.
and then it could prompt something potentially, but I've never done a survey to that great of detail.
Mhm.
I'm not sure legally, how we can do those, but I mean, that's the question that the board, I mean, it's up to you. If you give us a direction, when I say us, Neil and myself, then we'll explore whatever avenues you want to.
Well, and
One example, you could potentially stake out a park, or we could stake out the parks and target just
right.
users of the park, for
Is-
instance.
And that's
If
actually
you
is my
really want to
question.
go
I
there.
really wasn't asking about putting demographics on there. I was asking
I
about,
wouldn't feel comfortable putting that on there. So yeah.
I wasn't asking that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
What I was
Maybe I
saying was,
misunderstood.
what I was saying was most people who lean into completing surveys fall into that demographic. So they may be, younger moms may be busy and don't want to fill out a survey. I mean, there can be that. So what I was asking was, we did this at the clinic in Newton where we did a targeted survey for those that are living with low resources. So typically we took the survey documents to the laundromat and to convenience stores and to places where individuals that are living with the housing communities where individuals living with low resources would be to get more reach. So that's why I was asking about the delivery model, was to be able to reach individuals that regardless of the individual's age. I mean, there are plenty of people that are raising their grandkids. I mean, there's plenty of, and using the parks and helping out too. So it's regardless of their age. I just was asking what the delivery mechanism was to make sure that we're engaging voices that don't just typically fill out surveys. That's why I was asking.
I like it.
And we can always put it in the water bill with the QR code, not the full survey, but with the QR code as well, and then have on there saying that if you like a hard copy, those are available at certain locations. So then you try to hit, whenever you do community surveys, you try to get, a wide variety of the,
Right.
entire community. It's hard. I mean, look at the election
It
this
is.
past Tuesday. I mean, it was what, 17% turnout.
Is that it?
And that wasn't
Wow.
even just Valley. I mean, that was the entire school district.
Yeah.
And so, on a survey like this, I mean, if you get, 100, 120, you're going to be doing well.
Wow.
Well,
It's
and
120 more than,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, 120 voices.
Yeah.
one thing we could do is like, the opening of the pool, we could be, a couple of our members could be out there with
Be happy to do
the
that.
survey, would you like to fill out the survey because we're trying to help, provide better service to the parks. I mean, that, to me, you get several there.
It's just like when we did the trail master plan. We were set up at the community barbecue. There was booths, I think at Fall Fest. I mean,
Tried to
there,
do one downtown.
yeah, you can do the
Right.
farmers market.
Yeah,
It
they
kind of
do the
depends on
farmers
how
market,
long
too.
you want it out and when you're trying to do it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the different. So whenever, I mean, I think you really hone in on what your questions are, and then we'll make sure to work with everybody and figure out the best deliverable and the way to get it out.
Sounds good.
So, and I just threw out that out there, but that's just.
But we
Just my-
understand.
Now I will though, however, make sure you can only take it once.
Oh, yeah.
We'll limit the IP addresses and those things, but.
Yeah, I appreciate that conversation. And I would say, however, we can as a board be supportive of it, especially now that if we can be supportive of it, let me know. I just don't know what those avenues are. But if we
I
can
would
be
think
supportive.
after we get this done, we get it to the water bill, we get the party rolling, and then I have no problem going to McLaughlin Park at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon and hitting up all the moms sitting on the benches. Have you guys heard about this? And they'll be like, "Yep, we filled it out in the water. Okay, great. I'll move on down to the next one. If you haven't, then here's a piece of paper I can hand you."
Yeah, I love that. I
I
think
mean,
so.
that is about as direct as you can get because they're there. So
And that was how we had success in our strategic
Yeah.
survey, and I know that, and I'm not a statistician and I'm not a researcher. That's not my thing. But we were afraid there would be backlash to that we were sort of like skewing our results. But I think on this, I don't think there's anything wrong with skewing your results to people who actually use use it. I mean,
Looking
because
for feedback about your amenities,
Mhm.
parks. You want the information coming from people who actually use the facilities, as opposed to, people who would never frequent the park at all. That's it. Well, that's not bad way to look at it, though. I mean, there
I
are
mean-
some folks that may use it if things change, though.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not.
And that was my point of my lead in and saying it's mostly people like me who fill out surveys. And, but people like me don't have the relevant information that you need. I mean, it's not that I don't think we should exclude anyone. I want to make that very clear. Anyone who wants to fill it out should fill it out, but,
I have a question for Neil. Would this survey be appropriate to add anything about McLaughlin Pond and anything to do with or is this just completely playground and park amenities? Because a park amenity or a park amenity would be a bench, and maybe somebody would want to see more benches at wetlands,
Right.
for example. Is that something maybe we need to add in here about?
That gets pretty granular. I think
know,
what
I
you're
know.
trying to address here is, I mean, you do have a one amenity question. And if we get some results back regarding that, I think you can.
I think we could follow up on
Yeah.
a lot of this if we can get this survey out springtime, summertime, and maybe get some results, and then maybe have a booth at Fall Festival with each individual park and, about the pros and cons that people have mentioned, or we could answer any questions that might come up that way, based on what we've gotten from the survey. I think that would be another great way of following up with,
Where you could get
With-
ask some of those
Yeah.
more specific
Yeah.
things.
I mean,
Look for those.
I would say from my perspective, I see no barriers to proceeding ahead. If anyone else on the board wants some time, I'm open to that too, but I see no barriers to proceed.
I skimmed it and I'm actually good too. I just didn't know if anybody else would want time to, that's all. So-
no, it's
Yeah.
fine.
I think we can probably push this forward the
Okay.
way it is right now.
Yeah.
So, yep. Does that need to be a motion? Okay, so I guess I'll motion to push this forward.
I'll make a second.
All right, that's old business, new business.
Oh, we had to vote on it.
Sorry, we have to vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I knew I was going to forget something.
Yeah, right.
All right, new business? None? Board member reports. I'll start off. And I would like to try to find a way to be able to get a city forester position for the city of Valley Center. I don't know what direction to go. This is completely the starting point. I haven't even brought this to anybody on the board, but I think this city has potential to possibly have one. I don't know what size you need to be to technically have one that's paid or anything, but if we can find someone that's volunteer, that's willing to put in a little bit of time, like a Roger has done for Meridian, I would think that would be a good starting point. I'm here for feedback. Anybody knows anything more than I do about something like this? If not,
I don't even know what that is. Can you explain that?
Roger, what is the city forester?
Well, it really depends on the city. For one thing, some of them are basically law enforcement. Enforce the ordinances, make sure, and then there are some that are strictly general information. Get the news out or promote trees and things like that. But I guess you would want one that's kind of all of the above, that's knowledgeable on what kind of trees need to go where, but then also be somebody that will work with the city to, promote more trees in, not only in the city right-of-ways and the city properties, but also, in the individual properties. So, I think having somebody that's strictly a tree hugger would not probably work very well in some cities. But I think you would need to have somebody that, has a balance of, the reality of, yes, I want,
Yeah.
saying I want to plant 1,000 trees here in Valley Center next year. Well, that's not very realistic at all. But, having a goal and working in the community to get more involvement and just the more of the information out about trees would be a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to have one on the, I do know a few cities that they have a city forester, but basically just on paper. The person doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of something that I felt we needed. We do have some city ordinances that are not ordinances, but recommendations for when new businesses come in. There's supposed to be a certain landscape that they have to, minimum that they have to put in for their business or whatever. And that really hasn't been very enforceable. And whether or not that's where a city forester gets involved, I don't know. But that getting out and explaining to people that, there is opportunity.
But this is a position that would not tell people to do on private, but just in public, correct? On public property.
Or both.
I think on both, he or she
Right,
would
I got it.
would probably do a combination of all the above.
Does the city right now have anybody that is a tree expert on staff? That's you. Okay, so I don't want to add anything to your plate because I know you're busy, but I mean, to me, that's kind of if there's questions or concerns, I guess reach out to Neil, and to me, that would be almost like adding a title to it.
Honestly, Roger's filled that role a lot.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
100%
mean,
agree.
we took care of Meridian. Yeah.
Position.
And
Sure.
and it kind of bleeds over to the public works folks, because they go around and trim up the trees that are hanging over into the street that might cause some issues. It's kind of like it's being taken care of by a couple different.
Right.
And having probably a city forester, even if it's a volunteer type of thing, if it was written up in his description that he would, basically oversee that type of stuff. I think that would be kind of tricky to make sure that, you're not messing with department heads and things like that, but, as a recommendation, more of a consultant.
I guess, and I would ask the question, with Andy breaking it up, what is your vision for? You brought it up, I guess.
I think
Or the intent for the position.
I think Roger mentioned something about enforceability. The dumps out of control, and being able to sit down there for a couple days and get something done there. I do know I spoke to the economic developer, and he has mentioned that soon that there is going to be something brought up about the percentage of landscape that needs to be done with a new building. I'm wanting to push it even further, and if they don't have that appropriate amount when they do a remodel, I think it should be added to it. That could be somebody that the city forester can help enforce that. Probably about it, really, Neil. I think just being someone that's involved with the community that is, like Roger said, not a tree hugger, because I don't think that's the correct position. But can kind of take a lead and help you out more than anything, Neil. Like kind of be almost like Roger basically has done for Meridian. He's taken a lot of burden off of you. You didn't have to do that, or you didn't have to have a staff member do it. And I think a volunteer position to start off is appropriate, and I certainly think a paid position down the road should not be out of line. I think what are we at now? Tree City USA's, and we're at 20 something. Yeah, so I think that'd fall in line with that as well.
You answered one of my questions, was it paid or volunteer? You were saying
Yeah.
starting off as a volunteer.
I think we'd have to, because that would have to be something Brent and me are gonna have to talk about budget wise. You know, there's gonna have to be a title to start off. But I don't know, can a city forester be volunteer if he's enforcing the law at the dump? I mean, I don't know how that works. I would think you could have somebody just park down there. You've done it almost all for free anyway, Roger, all the Meridian Street project and everything down Ford. I mean, so I think it would be just to kind of bend over into that a little bit, and then eventually you have a budget line item for, you know, some sort of salary, and even if it's small.
How much do city council members make now? Well, I'm just, you can yell it out. I know when I was on council, we made $20 a meeting.
I believe it's 25 a meeting.
Okay.
Is it 20 or 25? I don't know.
But then we
think like
gave
20 or
our money
25.
back when we were having such a
That
budget
sounds-
crisis. And we were doing it for free for a year or two.
At $25 is doing it for free
That's-
anyway.
Okay.
And-
just-
And, you know, with the desire, you know, of wanting to, you know, lower mill levies and those things, I mean, you know, we'd actually be looking at decreasing staff, not increasing, just to give you a heads up for future.
Well, I'm going to continue to push it, whether we decrease mill or not,
I think
just to see.
regardless of the situation, it's always good to put together a proposal.
Yeah.
And put together a plan of what your vision is. And it doesn't mean they have to act on it in a positive way or a negative way, but you at least put it on paper. And if it's something that then you pull out every single year and say, I'm going to tell you again, this is something we need.
Yeah.
Because that's happened in a lot of committees I've
That
been
has,
on,
yep.
where, you know, they just pull it out every year and they go, let's revisit it. So I would suggest a job description, a, you know, estimated number of hours a week, if it's paid, what the value would be. Also maybe a workforce assessment to see, are there people that with the credentials in the area? Would it be an easy thing to fill? Because I work in healthcare, so it's hard to hire a nurse to work at a local health department, just being
Yeah,
honest,
yeah,
when
yeah,
they can
yeah.
go work as a traveling nurse. So put together some of those thoughts as well. If there's a feeder school or, you know, or something, or extension council or somebody that, you know, that could put you in contact with other, I know nothing about this topic.
I completely just
I'm
brought it
gonna
up
tell
just
you.
to see kind of this
So-
right here. And
But I would suggest putting it, not that I'm a proponent of it, because I know nothing about it. I'm just saying that from a business process, would be my recommendation, is put it in writing.
I agree.
Definitely a job description.
Yeah.
And responsibilities.
I'll work on that, guys.
Because then that helps you to understand where it hits on that spectrum that you talked about of law enforcement too. It helps you to hit in there to really envision what that looks like. I don't know what's going on with that. I have no idea.
It's this.
Oh,
A lot of people are using it like they should. I mean, there's some really just guys in the back of their trucks, they're pulling it off, they're small material. You've got other ones that are coming in with 16, 20-foot dump trailers that who knows what's underneath all of that. And you can see very clearly what's on. If you take one circle around there, you can see what kind of stuff's been pushed up. That's not what that is for. So, but that's for another topic.
interesting.
The only other thing I wanted to get with on my reports would be Ray and I talked a little bit about some goals for this group, and I'm not going to bring any of them up yet. I have not gotten back with him. He was kind enough to get them to me quickly on at least his 9 or 10, and I still want to get with him about mine, and
I love that. That's
we'll
great.
go over some things together and
Yeah,
probably bring that up on the next meeting most likely.
that's awesome.
And City Forester would be one of them. I do know one also got mentioned, even though I said I wasn't going to mention them all, but is doing something for Fall Fest. And we'll work on it. Tina, you have anything?
No, I'm behind on my thing for Neil, but I've been really busy at work and it's starting starting to come down off of our busy season, so I'll get done over.
How about you, Ray?
So I guess the only thing that I wanted to bring up is, and I don't want to misquote it, but somebody on the What's Happening, I did notice the minutes from the outdoor space meeting that there might be a hiccup in replacing the trees on Meridian. The following statement is from the minutes provided an update on the Meridian tree planting project, mentioned potential difficulties planting around utilities and structures. Thanks for reading. So I guess where that came from, obviously this is something that's part of our meeting, but I don't ever remember saying there was a hiccup with planting trees. I just remember it being, we were going to kind of zone them for large to small. I mean, obviously we're not going to allow people to plant over pipelines or anything like that, but I don't see there being an issue. I guess I just want to clear that up. Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I saw that as well, and I was
Yeah.
also thrown by that term.
Right. Because I don't remember saying there was an
We're going
issue
to have
with it.
utilities to work around, and that's always a challenge, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be able to plant trees. You know, we're just going to have to be strategic in where we put those trees, and the size of trees we put in those locations needs to be appropriate for the spacing that we've got.
Love it. Yep.
Work with this board, we'll be transparent with the public. I guarantee you on that.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll let everybody know what's going on, and you just can't give them the whole plan now and think that every tree is going to be put in that same spot. That's got to wait just a little bit longer. So, all right, Ray, Larry. No, Larry. Roger.
Well, I'm glad you
Scratch your
brought that up, Ray, about the what was put in the social media. I drove Meridian right before the meeting, and it's going to be challenging, but I think we can definitely come up with working with the homeowners to get trees. Like we had talked about, there were roughly 50 trees taken out, and we're going to try to put in 76. That's if the homeowner agrees with the scale. Also, do we have, this is kind of gets back to Neil, have we had any people interested in joining the board to take JJ's place?
No, I haven't heard of it. Okay, requests. Yeah.
Okay.
I've reached out to 2 people, Roger. They're not here yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Of course, we've got it on the website as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It's been pushed out through social media outlets
Yeah.
as well.
That's I was just kind of curious that
Maybe everybody's
if
just
we've had any.
This was a tough time of year to ask for
Time of year.
folks to
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
commit to things. It is a busy time of year for sure.
But that's all I have.
Staff reports. Sorry. That's board members. Yep. Staff reports. Neil.
Haven't taken a look out at the new Record Aquatics Center. They are rocking and rolling out there. There's a
good.
big hole in the ground underneath that shelter, underneath that building. That pool is looking great. We did a tour with council just this past Tuesday evening, so everybody seems to be very excited having done the tour. We got some forward progress on our entry sign at Ford and Broadway now. Mason actually started today. He's in making progress out there. So splash pad at Lions Park as part of the Record Aquatics project is still on track. They're making good progress. They poured a couple of sections of the splash pad, and everything seems to be on track. It doesn't look like it's going to be ready, but it will be ready. It will all come together once all that concrete's poured. Pop those toys in place when they go, and it's going to be great. So,
Remind me, opening day.
opening day will be the same as when we open the pool up, be part of it. And that's going to be on Saturday. I think that's 5th, I think. Yeah, May 25th and free day. First day, May 25th is also free.
It's exciting.
Here's some of the pictures. Have you all been getting the updates that I forwarded
Yes,
out about
yes,
the
thank you.
Record Aquatics? Okay,
Yeah, appreciate that.
They give us a weekly update. Brent usually, I wait until Brent pushes it out, so it's not got all the other emails and all that stuff tied to it. So it's just
Yeah, it's even, I know, 2-3 months, it's gonna be a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
My staff has been really busy working on preparations over the pool, some of the some of the carryover projects that were not completed last year that were completed this year. Brett, go back to that picture for a second. See those cross beams in there, the white ones? Those are, if we can swing it, those are extra supports that were built into the project to be able to put in the Ninja Cross course.
Andy's,
Yeah, the
Ninja.
Ninja Cross.
Is that a real thing, or are we joking? Is that?
Well, the structure's there.
Oh,
Whether
okay,
whether
okay.
it comes now or later is to be determined.
I remember that being mentioned.
Now, why would I ever joke about something that's
Oh, because it had ninja in it, and that's why I thought, no.
That's great.
Yeah.
That
It
Well,
looks,
I would just like to see you do it, that's all, Brent. But, sorry, Tina, what were you gonna say?
that looks fun.
Okay.
this is really nice.
It's looking fantastic. The McCown Gordon group has been great to work with. They've been very professional. They're keeping us on task. We're still slated to open, towards the end of this year, first of next year. So they've been a great group to work with. Again, I started to say, my crew has been working over at Lions Park at the swimming pool there, getting it all ready on our side of things, doing our normal preparations. We still have contractors coming in to also address some of the things that we either didn't finish addressing last year with the pool or needed further addressing this year. So we're going to have a new pump, a new air extractor.
Yeah, that new pump actually was part of that this year, wasn't it?
Right.
I remember that.
It was
Talked
actually
about
last year.
It was.
Yeah.
They Band-Aided it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did a. There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Probably more technical.
Um,
You gotta make sure you wear the eyeglasses, Brent, when you do this, though. I mean, you gotta really go all out. Okay.
Just looking for a sponsor, right?
Right. Yeah. But Chuck.
Yeah, no.
For us.
Woodchuck
No,
Ninja.
Black Hills Energy.
Yeah.
yeah.
We can sponsor.
There you go.
with Memorial coming, speaking of the cemetery, saw the cleanup efforts out at the
Yes.
cemetery, and want to give some kudos for that. I don't know the backstory, but want to give some kudos for that. And any updates on the flags for out there? That I know that was a separate project. It wasn't us, but any updates from that group on their fundraising?
Or anything. I know that they've still got their little jars set out. Trying to do a flag.
I would agree, Neil. I've seen them at 3 or 4 different places, but I think they're still probably trying to dig out the funds.
Yeah, there's some funds to do stuff.
Yes, Brent?
Guys, I want to make sure, with this,
Yes.
the city has no correspondence, nor contact with any funds that are donated. Those are not tax free or not. Those are not tax exempt entities. Those are not associated with the city before. They have never sat down with city staff and discussed what they're doing. Want to make sure that's clear. Money's going somewhere.
I have heard that they need $25,000 for the 3, and that was from a fairly good source. So I think it's going to take some time to gather that amount of money. But I don't even know where they're at. I don't know what they're up to. That may have changed because that was from last year too.
So,
So
and like Brent's saying, essentially it's kind of an unsanctioned.
yeah.
Unsanctioned.
So
thing that they're-
even if they raise the money, then would they be allowed to put it on city property that's the cemetery? I don't want
It'd
to,
be up for discussion.
it would be up for
Council.
discussion,
But at this point, there's not been any agreements or anything. It's an
so
unsanctioned,
there's nothing in place. Okay.
unsanctioned
Okay.
fundraising as far as the city's concerned.
Yeah, and so, I know that it maybe represent one way, but, Neil and I, we have contacted a few different consultants, to get some price quotes, come up with concept plans, for the cemetery, some master planning efforts.
Mhm.
Of course, 30 years ago was the best time to plant a tree. And so, planting those trees now for future growth and development, and then also reflection area and planting area and all those things. So, those are things that Neil and I are working on getting price quotes for
Got it.
few consultants to see how much it'd be. Years ago, when I first started, we got one that was like $25,000. And I said, well, the two's on there. $5,000. But, we're going back out right now since we're in the middle of our budget cycle for 2025 to see if we can get that budget or to have a plan and concept to bring to this board.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd
Of
really
course,
like that.
we're not going to bring something that may not budget $25,000 or not that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your work on that. I appreciate it.
Anything else from anybody? Yep.
Nothing. Unless you have any questions.
Good work. I love the parks. My wife and I love to walk them. All of them too, for that matter. I'm excited for the bike path down south of 4th Street. Find out, when that all gets finished up. That'd be a fun one to walk. Probably for the next meeting though. Which is the next meeting.
It's like April 4th, this is here, but
Yeah,
that's
Copy and paste. I can tell.
June 6th.
I will be out of town.
I will be out of town also. I'll be in Florida. Actually, Alabama.
The next one is July 4th weekend. It's July 4th. Never mind. So we're into August, and I think
Well,
we're
I
Yep.
something we don't have to have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like tonight is the second Thursday of the month. I mean, we could do June 13th if we felt that we needed to have a meeting here before we get to August.
I think if we're going to push out the survey and have any issues with pushing out the survey, we may need a meeting.
I agree. I was just mentioning July because I was saying,
Yeah,
well,
well,
that's
that's-
2 months. We need to have something in between that.
So,
You guys someone want a motion for a June 13th meeting? Is that what we're agreeing on?
I'm here June 13th. I'll motion for June 13th meeting.
Second. We don't need our city representative.
I will be out both of those Thursdays.
Both of
6th and
those.
13th.
I technically have something else to go to that night that I could miss if I had to. But if you, we do need a quorum.
I guess let me ask this: Are we going to be able to have the survey out and everything back by then? Because maybe that gives us a month off, and we're able to push the survey, see if we can get some data back, and then maybe we meet July 2nd week of July, and then we call it good there, and
July 11th.
actually have something to discuss.
Or another, and that would work unless you move it up a week and you basically split June and July. So you could go to Thursday, the June 20th
Or 27th.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, 27th.
So I'm good with all of those. I just wanted to put some others out on the table. My only point on the survey is if you want our help staffing any areas to ask people to complete them, then
That supports.
that's a board decision. So if you're gonna do a first run electronic and see how many you get back, and then we reevaluate and then see if we need to go out and push
Put
them.
it out through like the venues that Brent was talking about.
Yeah.
I just brought it up from the standpoint that you guys want to channel some of those areas or target some of
I
those
think it's a good
areas.
idea, and that probably the earlier the better. That way we can get it consolidated, all the answers or all the feedback, so that when we have something for Fall Fest, we will have a good. It doesn't necessarily mean that we just stop. That's for another discussion about.
We could keep it at June 13th And then if it changes like it did this month, we just push it to the 20th,
Was it,
13th.
The 6th and 13th.
How about the
Why don't
20th?
you just do the 20th then? Okay. So we need a motion to,
Well, do we need, you did the motion, was it seconded? I don't
somebody
think-
did.
Okay, I guess I did, so we need to
We'll just vote and say nay.
say nay.
Nick?
Yeah,
All right,
nay.
yep.
Nay, okay. So make a motion for June 20th, our next meeting.
I'll second it. June 20th.
That finishes up the meeting.
Okay, vote.
Oh, yeah, we need to vote. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
For June 20th, okay. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn, sir.
I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
We all say aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
We are adjourned, sir.